Hey everybody, big news in the markets today. We have buyout news, we have banks reporting earnings, a lot of stuff going on today. First of all, a stock we just talked about yesterday and maybe even the day before, United Natural Foods, UNFI. That's a stock that has fallen a lot in the last couple of years. We had talked about it yesterday because I believe it had dropped a lot yesterday. But today, a different story, up almost 30% today, almost a third of its value today. Company reported upbeat guidance, better than expected earnings today. Haven't really dug into the numbers to see exactly what's going on there, but huge move today to the upside for United Natural Foods. Another company trading up a lot today is First Data Corporation, FDC. They got acquired today. Big buyout news today by, I believe it's the company is spelled Fiserv, Fiserv or Fiserv. I've heard of them before. Don't know a whole lot about them. They're a financial technology company. First Data is a company that I've been following for a little while, but they got bought out today for $22 billion, a 20% premium. So the stock there was up 21% today. So a big mover there for First Data. I guess I can take them off my watch list now, and I started following Fiserv now. And I guess they were down about 3 to 4% today. So maybe I think investors get a little nervous, with these buyouts, whether it's fueled with debt or maybe overpaid a little too much. So that'll be interesting to see how much that one shakes out. I took a quick peek at the chart of SFI. Let me check the ticker symbol here. FISV. That is just an amazing chart. Take a look at that if you get a chance, from 2008, 2009 to now. It's just absolutely amazing. The run that stock has been on. So we'll see if that can continue into the future. Banks reported earnings today. All the banks were up pretty big today. Goldman Sachs up 10%. Deutsche Bank, Bank of America up 7 to 8%. So big news out of the banks today. Strong earnings out of the major banks. A lot of big movers there. Stock that was down big today, one that's down big all the time, it seems like, is Snapchat. Snapchat was down about 13-14% today. I think the news out of Snapchat today was an executive. Apparently there's been a lot recently who are leaving the company. So big departure for Snapchat. 13%, that's the stock is getting, I don't know if it's cheap or what the deal is, but it's down to a little over $5 now. See Snapchat everywhere. I don't know if they can make a turnaround, turn this into a profitable company. That is yet to be seen. It's one of those companies that if you think they can turn things around, now is when you want to buy. When it's at, you could maybe wait a little bit, see if it sneaks under $5. But if you're a believer in Snapchat, I think you got to be buying up some Snapchat stock right now. You can argue that they're still overvalued, because they don't make any money and have all this debt, and that's a solid argument. I don't own any Snapchat, so I'm just looking at it from a non-biased opinion. So, these are the times where you want to buy those companies. History has shown when companies get beat down like that, they can turn things around. I remember looking at Twitter. I'm having several conversations with people about how undervalued Twitter was, and the biggest argument they had, well, they don't turn a profit. They're not profitable. I said, well, yeah, but look at Twitter and the effect it has on the world today. Everybody, not everybody, but Twitter has a lot of subscribers. Twitter moves markets. I mean, somebody posts a comment on Twitter about a stock, or there's so many, celebrities post on Twitter. Donald Trump is constantly on Twitter. I mean, there's, as much as you maybe don't like it, there is a huge value to in Twitter, and I've always been a believer of that. And At about the time where I was most adamant about buying Twitter stock, it was at about $13, and it's come down recently from its highs, but I believe it's still about $33 right now. So if I were to put some money in Twitter at that time, you'd almost tripled your money right now. So Snapchat could be another one of those stocks. I mean, maybe it won't be, but it definitely could be. I would not be surprised if Snapchat in the next, if there's no major market correction, that Snapchat, if they bring somebody in maybe that can, do a better job and lead this company, and turn things around, that if they turn a profit one day, that stock is going to absolutely fly. Be worth putting a little money into it right now, I think. Another usual suspect is New Age Beverages, NBEV. Actually, you would think 7% or 6% for a company would be a big move, but not for them. They were down about 6% today. Not much for news. Actually, the only news was some good news. They were going to license their Bob Marley energy drinks, and the stock actually dropped 6% on the news. So still a very speculative company. Not sure if you want to put any money into that one or not. Maybe a small amount on the hopes that they maybe get bought out by a bigger company. I really don't think these CBD infused beverages are really going to take off like people think they are. At first, I thought maybe people can buy these drinks once marijuana is legalized and they're going to get a buzz off these drinks. But that's not what CBD is. It's not actual THC or marijuana in your drink. It's just kind of what seems like a buzz. I shouldn't say buzzword because it's not an actual word, but just kind of a buzzworthy topic that people are discussing. And I think that's causing the stock to have these big, it has a lot of up days. If you look at the chart for New Age Beverages, I mean, if you could have got into early to that stock, that's another one where I just have a hard time buying a stock after it's up 500%, 1,000%. I mean, the risk just, as the stock rises, so does the risk involved in the company. So if you'd have got in at under $1, I believe just a couple of years ago, it was under $1. And I believe it's over 6 or 7 now. So you'd have made a nice profit there. But at this point, I'm not sure if it's worth, maybe a small amount, buy a few shares. But I wouldn't put too much into that. You never know. Dilution in a company like that, I would imagine, is probably pretty common. You could wake up any day and the stock is down 30% because they sold a bunch of shares and diluted the current shareholders. So that's kind of what I worry about with a company like that. Ford today, ticker symbol S. Everybody's familiar with Ford. Ford missed estimates today, down about 6%. Ford is still a profitable company. I don't know their exact numbers, but I believe they're still turning a profit even through all everything that's going on right now. They still pay a dividend. They have not cut their dividend as far as I know. That's a stock that you might want to hold on to, buy some shares in that maybe for the long term. It's not something that you're going to make some quick money in, like maybe some of these smaller companies, but over time, if you're collecting a 3% dividend, and I think the big thing with the automakers right now is driverless cars. Who's going to come out with the best driverless car? And Ford is pouring a lot of money into driverless cars. I think whoever comes out the winner there is going to make a lot of money. That's going to be a huge market. And if you can get in the door, it's hard to say this company or this company. I mean, let's be honest here. Do we really know what's going on behind closed doors at all these companies? I think unless you work for these companies, I don't, none of us really have any idea who's going to win this race. You can read articles, do all the research you want, but it's just really a matter of who's going to come out with the best product, kind of like, Apple with the iPhone. Looking back, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Steve Jobs comes out with this Apple iPhone. Why didn't we just buy stock that day? It would have made sense. And looking back, it did make sense. So I think you could do that with the driverless cars, see who comes out with the best car. It also now might be a time where you just spread your money out. I don't think there's an ETF for the automakers, but if you just put a little bit into each company, GM, Ford, Tesla, Google's working on a car, Baidu out of China. If you just put your money into all these small amounts into all these companies, I think one of them is going to be a huge winner, at least one of them, because the driverless car it's going to be huge. There's companies popping up all over the place, and that has to do with driverless cars. They're getting bought out left and right. So that's an industry to definitely keep your eye on. If Ford does happen to come out with a driverless car that is very popular, at this price, $8, if you look at the stock, it was much higher back in 2000, early 2000s. And if they can manage to get through this period without cutting their dividend, that could be Ford could be a great investment at this price. Another stock, not a huge move today, but ImmunoGen, IMGN, that stock was down about 5% today. That's one I follow just because I'm so interested in biotech stocks, and especially, they say now with the ImmunoGen, there's a couple other companies out there that they can cure diseases through use your own body, your own immunity to fight off these diseases. So those are really interesting companies. If one of those can come through with some drug, a major breakthrough, a stock like that could make you a lot of money. I think it was down to about $2, and it got all the way up to 13. So that's a huge run. And then now it dipped under $5 today. So one of those to keep your eye on. Small company, less than $1 billion. And I haven't looked at their financials, but I don't believe they have much for sales. Not a lot of sales. A comparable biotech company would be Puma Biotech, who's about the same market cap, and they have over $200 million in sales over the last 4 quarters. And Puma was up over 5% today. Again, I checked them. No news. Up 7% yesterday, 5% today. Absolutely no news. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It's a little over $25 right now, Puma is. And if you look at the chart, if it can get through this $25.50, that's kind of where it hit last time and fell back down. If it can get through there, and there's a lot of upside to Puma Biotech. Yeah, well, we ran through that list really fast. They had a list of companies today that big movers in the markets. We'll have to see what tomorrow brings. Let me check one more time here. See if there's anything that happened late today. Yeah, United Natural Foods ended up about almost 30%. That's $15 here. That's, if you look at the chart there, it's still really, even after a 28% jump, the stock is still extremely low compared to what it once was. It was over $80, about $85 back in 2015. And it just fell off a cliff all the way down to 30, and then it recovered a bit, and then back down to 30, and then it recovered a bit, and then back down to 30. And then I bet you there's a lot of people that bought in around 30 thinking it was going to recover a little bit, and it just absolutely fell off a cliff, went from 30 down to 10 in a very short period of time. And now it's back to over 15. So that one might go on a run here. It really might. That's an interesting company. Still might be undervalued, but it could fall down. I'm just torn between United Natural Foods and what's gonna happen with that company. Wouldn't be bad to maybe put a small position in, and I'm just afraid that they're gonna have another earnings miss here in the future, and the stock is gonna erase any gains that it's made here. So, it might not be a bad idea to put some money into it now, maybe, and then if it does happen to drop, maybe back under 10. or it gets down to possibly 5 in the future here, I think that's when you really want to maybe add more to that position. Let's see. In foods, I was reading about United Natural Foods, and I stumbled upon a couple other food companies, HAIN, Celestial, I think it's called. Apparently there's a market coming on in the food industry that makes synthetic meats. Apparently, eventually, we're not going to be able to feed the entire world. So the next big idea is basically grow meat in a lab. And apparently, there's some smaller companies. I tried to find a public company that does this, can't find a single one. They're all privately smaller companies, venture capital backed companies who are making synthetic meats, all sorts of synthetic foods. I guess that is the future. With the whole global warming issues, processing meats and all the cattle that we need is one of the major pollutants affecting climate change and the environment. So, if we could cut out that, say that would make a huge impact on global warming. So, and obviously there's a lot of animal rights activists out there. Makes me think of Ace Ventura, right? A lot of animal activists out there with their damn signs, But obviously, if we're making synthetic foods, we wouldn't have to have all this land for cattle and slaughter all these animals every day. But I've never had any synthetic meat, so I really don't have much of an opinion on it. I don't know what it tastes like, if it's terrible or if it's comparable. I'm sure someday they'll have these taste tests, kind of like Coke and Pepsi, where can you really tell the difference? And that'll. But I haven't seen any big companies really getting into this. HAIN is the only one I've heard mentioned that might have a small position in one of these companies that are doing this. Ticker symbol HAIN. That stock is fallen off a cliff here recently too, so that could be a good entry point if you're interested in that sort of thing. See if there's any other big movers today. That's about it for the big movers, I guess. TLRY made a little bit of a recovery today, up about 3%. But still, the buyout news, the first data, that was big news. Snapchat tanking today. So again, there's always interesting stuff going on in the markets. If you miss a single day of the markets, you can miss a huge announcement. So I guess that's all I've got for today. I'll be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time. All right, have a great day.